Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't matter whether the Home Secretary is Priti Patel or Suella Braverman. It doesn't really matter whether Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister, or indeed Rishi Sunak. They keep telling us they're going to stop the boats, and I keep saying they will not, on their current trajectory, do anything like that. And indeed Labour have pretty much nothing to offer either. Well, today looks like it'll be the biggest day of crossings over the Channel this year, with possibly much more to come this week. To give us an absolutely full report on chaos in the Channel, I'm joined by GB News' own Mark White. Mark, good evening. Give us a rundown, please, of today's chaos.
Well, that chaos, as you describe it, Nigel, began very early this morning at 2:30 with a Border Force catamaran going into Dover Harbour with the first group of migrants that had been picked up from a Channel boat in the middle of the Channel. And now, as I speak to you, we are talking about 16 small boats that have come across the English Channel today. We don't know how many have tried and failed. That often happens. They don't make it to that 12-mile mark into UK waters, some of them. But 16, we believe, have made it today, with 800 migrants in total. Now, that would beat, if that is borne out overnight, that would beat the previous figure set on the 10th of August of 755 people who crossed the Channel in a single day. So that would beat that total for this year so far. And you're right, Nigel, that coming up to this week, we are expecting a run of what Border Force describe as red days. In other words, it's its own internal red alert mechanism to ensure that they have enough resources and are prepared for very significant days of small boat activity. It's not going to be as good tomorrow as it was today, but when we get into Wednesday and Thursday, I'm told that winds will be very light indeed, to the point where we are expecting very significant numbers to cross the Channel.
Yeah, and even a boat over the border in East Sussex, sort of going up the River Rother and being picked up by the RNLI. We can probably see some footage of that in the background as we talk. I mean, this is extraordinary, Mark. I mean, there were 50 on this boat just heading into the river, and the lifeboat turned up from Dungeness and picked them up and brought them in. Mark, I have to say, I thought the revelations that were in the Mail on Sunday yesterday were very, very interesting. That we're talking about speeding up the backlog of those who are applying for asylum, having crossed the Channel, and quite extraordinary that people are being told to smile, to be nice, not to challenge anything that is said by those seeking asylum, even if they lie, to think there may be good reason. And what I would call the say you're gay and you can stay, and no one questioning that. And given that over 100 countries in the world have some extreme, other less extreme legislation against homosexual people. I mean, basically what we're saying, isn't it, is if you get here, you will be allowed to stay, you will be granted asylum.
I think we've said this before, haven't we, Nigel? There is a whole industry that has sprung up around the migration of people into the UK, gaming the asylum system. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't those that cross that are genuinely fleeing from very difficult situations, may well be in fear of their lives. But there are many, many people on the other side of the Channel waiting to get to the UK who fall into the category of economic migrants. But they are schooled right from the get-go, from seeking out the people traffickers who then tell them what to expect, help them in their journey up to the coast of France, northwestern France. And then, of course, they are then also instructed to an extent by those NGOs or those charities that are in northwest France as well. And they would say that they're only doing their bit to help these poor people in need and in desperation, but there's no doubt that they give them the best possible advice, let's put it that way, to ensure that they can stay in the UK. And that continues as they come over the channel, and then it's the chance of the human rights lawyers, as the government describes them, lefty lawyers, who are also involved in giving them the best possible advice to stay in the UK.
Thank you, Mark White. I have to say the whole thing is a complete and utter, total racket, and there's no sign of courageous leadership to drag us out of it.